Good morning. It is 4 something here in Portugal in the Algarve. We were woken up because we're in the middle of another storm. Strange tropical storms happening this year that never happened before. And at least not now, we're nearly 8 years here. And something set off the fire alarm in the house, although there's nothing to make fire carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide. And I've got here a lemon and cinnamon this morning. Very soothing. And I'm going to start with my little ritual because today we're going to look at authenticity. Authenticity. And it is okay to take this time for myself. It makes me a calmer human. It makes me a more understanding mother. It makes me a more present wife. I hope. Okay, authenticity. I've been reading recently this book by a local author that we're blessed to have living in the same area called Elaine Martini, and this is her book called Truly Connected. Now, I sort of haven't had time really to read much since my first child came along, which was 9.5 years ago, but I have made it all the way through this book, and it's a really well-written book, and it's caused me to think a lot. And I've got, as you can see here, quite a number of dog-eared pages because these are the pages where she gives you activities to do, and I need to go back and do these activities. I haven't done these yet, so I've got a lot of work around the thought processes on authenticity. But I woke up this morning with a very simple art therapy project that we can do today based around the concept of authenticity to help us on this particular journey. And to do that, I've got just a basket of these things that I randomly grabbed from the kitchen. And I thought it might be nice to have this visual to get started because we grow up and enter school and we're told that we need to sit this way, we need to raise our hand that way, we need to ask questions that way, and we start being funneled into this whole all-encompassing understanding of how we're supposed to live and how we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to conform. And I just wanted to remind you that in nature, that's not so much the case. I mean, look how different this sweet potato is, right? Although they're both root vegetables, from this ginger. Although they're sour, we've got this lemon, this honking lemon from our friend's lemon tree, which is amazing. And we've got this kiwi from the shop, and then we've got this grapefruit from another friend's neighbor's grapefruit orchard. I guess you can call it an orchard. We've got how many different varieties of apples we have on the planet, right? These are both from the Algarve where we live, and this is a clementine or one of those easy peelers, like the flat sort of variety, and this is like the standard kind of juicing orange that we get here. And also in the same color family, we have a carrot, right? And then we have an onion, also another root vegetable, and then we've got our cauliflower, which is, different to our broccoli. And I mean, I just want to remind me and remind you that actually this world, this natural world, the natural way of being was designed not only to make space for differences, but that's what makes life interesting, and that's what makes life worth living, right? I mean, if the only kind of orange you could eat your whole entire life would be this one, or the only kind of fruit you could eat your whole life would be this one, it might be getting a little bit dull and boring over time, right? I mean, even the size of this lemon alone, I mean, I've got a normal size lemon in my drink this morning, but this lemon, look at this. I mean, that just put a smile on my face to see a whole basket of lemons this size arrive. It's just fascinating. And it's important before we start this activity to remember this. This is the natural way of the world. And if the natural way of the world wants a huge variety of natural plants and a huge variety of natural product from these plants and a huge variety of animals and a huge variety of insects and a huge variety of blossoms and a huge variety of leaves, why do we think it should be any different for us as humans, right? Why are we all trying to make our hair the same color? Why are we all trying to answer questions in the same way? Why are we all trying to produce the same stuff? It's just wrong. It's not the natural way. And for us to really, really, really anchor into this activity this morning, we need to know that. We need to see the proof of that. In that one basket alone is enough proof for me, to be honest. So, I hope you have a hot drink with you. A nice, cozy hot drink. Yeah. And all we need, and I've got this as well with me, and I wanted to show you this. I forget the name of it at the minute. But I went into this crystal shop locally, run by a lovely guy named Tiago. Beautiful crystal shop in a village called Bolacame. And he's got, I don't know, thousands, tens of thousands of crystals in this shop. And out of all of them, it's this one that spoke to me. And it spoke to me because of its originality. It spoke to me because of its colors, because of the striations, because of the shape. I like feeling these two things on the end. I don't know why. I just do. I mean, look at these nice, this is actually, a nice little crack in it, right? These slits, look at these striations here. It's just spectacular. Could be that it reminds me of the ocean. I don't know. Right? But again, it was its uniqueness and its authenticity that spoke to me. I've got a whole little basket of them here. And each of these, I've selected over the years. This beautiful one was gifted to me by a lovely friend named Vera. Look at this. Oops, it goes like that. So on the outside, look at that. On the outside, you think it's just a stone, right? Look at that. You walk past that on a path or something, you're not going to think anything of it, right? It just looks like a stone until it gets cracked open, and that's what you have on the inside. Look at that. Look at that beauty, right? I was attracted to this one because of all the cracking inside. I really should learn the names for these things and remember them. I don't know any of their names, really. I think this one's an agate, possibly. Look at this. Right? Stunning. Look at this. It's the uniqueness. It's the different shapes, right? It's the different shapes. It's the different weight in the hands. It's the different colorations. I think this is an agate. This one I think is amethyst. Yeah, I think so. Right? So you see, they're just all different. I wouldn't want a collection of stones that are all the same. Absolutely not. They appeal to me because of their uniqueness, because of their authentic nature. And I think on this journey through life, we really do have to battle against what school teaches us, what the government teaches us, what everything around us teaches us about living on a planet and sharing a planet with other people, and we have to conform. And we have to do things in a certain way. And on that journey, I think sometimes we really do forget about our authentic nature. And especially these days with things like all the social medias, right? People are posting pictures of where they're going or what they're wearing or what they're doing. And you start to think, oh, maybe I should do that too. Maybe I should want that too. You know, when I see other women posting photos and videos of big groups of girlfriends getting together, I sort of think, oh, maybe I should want that, right? Why do I not want that? Am I weird? Do I, because I'm a girl, am I supposed to want these things? And, sometimes I find myself questioning my own sanity because I'm like, I don't want that. And is there anything wrong with that? So today we're going to do a little practice, a little art therapy activity where it's very simple. You just need a pencil. If you want something to color it in later, you can. We're going to look at our authenticity. So in the middle, I just want you to draw something that is symbolic of you. If you are not feeling, anything else, you simply do a circle, a line down, give her a dress if you want, some legs, some feet, yeah, and 2 arms. If you have long hair, maybe just give her some long hair, all right? She might appreciate something to see with, something to smell with, and something to taste with, all right? And she is a product not only of her upbringing that created her value set, created her cultural understandings, that created her social norms, but she's got some innate preferences as well that probably were baked in, possibly at birth. I see my 2 kids and I see how completely different they are. And it's that nature versus nurture thing, right? They're raised very similarly, although slightly differently because their personalities are very different. But there's a huge natural element there. So coming out from her, what I want to do is to just draw a line from her out to the corner of one side of the page and then the other side. And then do the same coming down to the bottom corners. And then out to the middle on each side. Okay. And then down. And then up. Right? And what we have us here in the middle. Okay, so this is me, and the person that you've drawn is you. And this is our radiance. Yeah? This is our radiance. And we're going to just look at some things as we go along. We're going to try to tap into what our authenticity is, because sometimes, we try to figure out, well, what's authentically me? And it's really hard to answer that. So I think if we go through this activity together, it might be easier to answer some of these questions. So let's start with something easy. All right. We're going to make one of these radiant sections food. So let's give it a little title. Yeah. Food. So let's start simply by saying, okay, breakfast. And to make it easy, I'm going to give you a multiple choice, a one or another. And you can pick from that. If you're feeling more creative and your mind is blending in different ways, then you don't have to stick with either this one, like A or B. You can actually start to fill this in with things that are feeling very, very aligned with you. But if you're really struggling and you're so baked into that mode of doing what other people expect of you, especially if you're locked in a people-pleasing state, you might find that it's really, really hard to tap into your authenticity. So an A versus a B is going to make it easier for you. All right, so let's look at breakfast. I'm going to give you two options. Would you prefer to have scrambled eggs or a bowl of oats? And if you want, you can draw a little image. So if you chose bowl of oats, if you wanted, you could do this, right? With some steam coming up from it, right? And then just, you can put oats. If you're not in the mood to draw, then just scribble the word oats. All right, for lunch, if I offered you a sandwich made of tuna, mayo, and lettuce, or I offered you a bowl of stew, which one would you choose? I would choose the stew. Okay. This is to represent chunky stuff in my stew. All right, for dinner, if I were to offer you salmon and potatoes, or I was to offer you an Indian curry, which one would you choose? For me, actually, it would depend on my mood. I would like them both. So maybe I'll put them both down. So maybe, I don't know how to draw salmon. So I would go salmon and I guess curry. Oh, look, it's another bowl. Okay. And I'm just going to put curry in here. And it would depend on the kind of curry, right? So I'm just going to do this as a little exemplar, because then in your own time, when we're finished, you can then go around and you can say, okay, well, what other foods do I like, right? And you can fill this whole food section in, okay? Here, let's just do clothes. Right? So let's think, okay, pajamas. Do you like a negligee kind of thing, or do you like cozy flannel? Me, flannel. Right? Clothes that you have to go to work in. Do you prefer a business suit, or do you prefer something casual? Me, absolutely casual. Right? Going out in the evening. Would you prefer a skirt, or would you like a skirt or a dress, or would you prefer pants, trousers? Me, always a dress, but like a sundress sort of thing. So that's nice. Look, I even know that it's like specific. It's not like a dress. It's like a casual sundress. Okay, so you can start to fill that in with some more information about, okay, well, clothing, right? You can't get away from food and you can't get away from clothing. So, what are my preferences for these things? What do I gravitate towards? What's my gut instinct on things? Okay. Let's look at hobbies. Yeah? Let's look at hobbies. If I were to give you the choice between working with wood and working with paint, what would you choose? For me, paint. If I gave you the choice between riding a bicycle and riding a scooter, like a foot push scooter, which one would you choose? Me, bicycle. If I gave you a choice between cooking and sewing, which one would you choose? If I gave you a choice between hiking and swimming, which would you choose? If I gave you a choice between walking and running, what would you choose? If I gave you a choice between yoga and weights, what would you choose? If I gave you a choice between Pilates and skydiving, which would you choose? If I gave you a choice between collaging and knitting, which would you choose? And it's okay to choose both. Right? And then you can see how quickly and easily this one can flesh out. If you just give yourself that question, well, between A and B, which would I choose? Then that becomes, that becomes simple. But, a big broad question like, well, what hobbies do you like? Whew, that's hard. All right, let's go into climate. Climate. Okay. Between sun and rain, what would you choose? For me, sun all the way. If you feel drawn to scribble any stick images anywhere you can, hiking, if you want, you can put a little hiking boot or something. All right. Oh, that looks more like a skate. Skating, skiing. Which would you choose? Hobbies. Right. All right, climate. So, sun or rain, I would go with sun. Hot or cold? For me, hot. Dry air or humid air? I might go humid. Thinking of the times I've spent in Singapore and Thailand and, various places over in Asia. It is quite muggy, though. That might be a hard choice. Humid versus dry. If I gave you a choice between autumn and spring, what would you choose? Oh, that's a tough one. I think I would have to say both. Summer, winter? Oh, hands down for me, summer. If I offered you the choice between 20 degrees Celsius and 30 degrees Celsius, what would you choose? I'm going to say 25 degrees Celsius. Look at that. Now I'm starting to interject a preference, right? That no, actually neither of those work for me. All right, this is where we're starting to tap into a little bit more of that bravery to say, oh, wait, no, that's actually not me. Okay, let's move on to relaxing. Relaxing. Yeah. If I gave you the choice between curling up on the sofa and watching a movie or reading a book, which one would you choose? Maybe at this stage of my life, a movie, because concentrating on a book is maybe a little bit harder. They have to really grip me. If I gave you the choice between a movie at home or going to the cinema, which one would you choose? Oh, for me, movie at home. For sure. If I gave you the choice between sitting on the beach or sitting in a park, what would you choose? For me, beach. If I gave you the choice between soaking in a hot tub or soaking in a sauna, what would you choose? Hot tub for me. If I gave you the choice between a full body massage and a foot rub, what would you choose? If I gave you the choice between a meditation or a mindful activity, what would you choose? If I gave you the choice between singing and dancing, what would you choose? Okay. And then you can carry on and do lots more on that. All right. Okay, let's move into friends. All right, friends. If I gave you the choice between a friend who was energetic and a friend who was somber, who would you choose? The choice between somebody who loves to travel or somebody who loves to stay home, I guess. If you could choose between somebody who was honest and somebody who was gentle, honest with your feelings or gentle with your feelings, who would you choose? Personally, I want the honest person. I'm not so worried about my feelings being hurt. If you had to choose between somebody who wanted to go out for coffee all the time and somebody who wanted to go out for dinner all the time, who would you choose? If you had to choose between somebody who wanted to go to nightclubs for your hangout time and somebody who wanted to curl up and talk, who would you choose? If you had to pick between somebody with the value set of dependability or the value set of spontaneity, which one would you choose? Would you choose so for girly get-togethers, would you choose one-on-one or would you choose large group? If you had to choose between somebody who enjoys gossip or somebody who is how would you word that? The opposite of gossiping. I suppose, I'm sure there's a word for that. Let's just put non-gossip. I'm going to choose non-gossip. I don't like that at all. If you had to choose between somebody who was who brought their problems to you or somebody who brought cool ideas to discuss to you, what sort of conversations would you like to have? Yeah. So you can see there's lots more things. And if you keep asking yourself, well, between this and this, what would I choose? Between this and this, what would I choose? Between this and this, what would I choose? It just makes it a little bit easier. Okay, now let's go to romance. And for those of us who are married, I think maybe we need to adjust that categorization a little bit and let's call it love and romance, because let's be real, there's not a whole hell of a lot of romance, as the years go on. Or if you figured out how to keep that, please do let me know, because when kids come along, a lot of love shifts, to just sort of being there and doing what's required. And so it's a very different shift. Anyway, so in the category of love and romance, so if you could choose between receiving an experience or receiving a gift, what would you choose? On Valentine's, would you pick red roses or would you pick white lilies? I don't know, actually. I would say please save the money and let's go out for dinner instead. So, actually, no. Do you know what I would choose? I would choose a live plant. Yeah. So if I give you options and you're like, neither of those works, then I want you to follow your brain in the direction where you're saying, wait a sec, that doesn't work for me. That works for me. And if you need to pause this video at any stage because, your thought process has taken you somewhere, or you're stuck on the question, or you're stuck on the thought process, just pause and then carry on. All right. If you had to choose between your partner fixing something around the house for you or giving you a gift, what would you choose? I would choose fixing. If you had to choose between a romantic weekend away or, I don't know, to a hotel or a spa or a winery or something, or an adventurous excursion with mud and uncertainty and maybe heavy equipment or off-roading, or what would you choose? Oh, yeah, mine would be the spa and the winery. For sure. If you were to choose between a 5-star Michelin type meal out for a special evening out, or a local like food truck or something, which one would you choose? Oh, Michelin for me. Just because it's so rare. For a normal like outing, a food truck would be awesome. Love that. Do you prefer coffee in bed together in the morning or tea in bed together at night? Me, it's both. Do you prefer random physical touches throughout the day or random words of kindness throughout the day? For connection with your romantic or your love partner, do you prefer deep conversation or adventuring together, out and exploring? Okay, so you can see there's a lot more stuff you can ask yourself there. And then finally, I want to look at work. But work can be viewed in a different way as well. And I want to talk about that because that's important. And after you sort of think about all of these sorts of things, sometimes maybe you find that maybe the work that you're doing might not be entirely aligned with the things that you enjoy. For instance, if you really love, casual dress, flannel pajamas, easygoing sundresses, doing something that requires you to put a business suit on every day might feel disingenuous to your essence, and it might cause you displeasure over time. So work, I don't want to talk about work just as work, but also as output, right? So we live on this planet. Our essence gets to inhabit a body so we can do stuff, right? We can play and do stuff and have fun. And there's elements that are completely about us, right? All of these things are completely about us. What we eat, what clothes we wear, what we spend our time doing, what kind of environment we want to live in, how we want to, spend our relaxing time. And then there's like how we connect, right? With others. And then there's what do we give back? What do we do? What's our output? What's our productivity? Maybe what's our GDP, if you will, right? And a lot of us think of work in terms of going to work to earn an income to pay the bills, but you can also look at it as your output. So, what is it that you're actually putting out into the world? And a lot of us experience tremendous dissatisfaction here because it's pretty easy to control kind of your menu on a given day, and it's pretty easy to control what kind of clothing you wear and what hobbies you choose to engage in. This might be a little bit harder to control. This generally, you've got a lot of autonomy here, and these things as well. I mean, there's a lot of choice here, but oftentimes we get into this situation, and because we have bills that keep arriving, we don't feel the flexibility to be able to make too many decisions here. We don't feel the flexibility to be able to put the brakes on, to stop, to deploy the parachute to get out, right? And we just keep going because those bills keep arriving. So let's put reality on hold for a second and let's ignore what we need to earn to pay those bills. And let's just look at what is the output that we ideally would like to create to share with the world, right? We're ultimately creative beings. We have very, very capable brains that love to think through problems, that love to come up with solutions. And this is where we can take all of these things and then channel them into creating something that can benefit the wider world. So if you had a choice between producing a thing, a physical thing for others, or offering a service, working with others and supporting others in a service capacity, which one would you choose? If you had to choose between working with your hands and working with your brain, which one would you choose? If you had to choose between working in the mornings or working in the evenings, which one would you choose? If you could choose between working by yourself and working in a team, what would you choose? If you could choose between supporting people or inspiring people, which would you choose? If you could choose between working with deadlines imposed by others or working to your own schedule, what would you choose? If you could choose between working at home or working in an office, what would you choose? If you could choose between casual attire while you work or business suits, which would you choose? If you could choose between a socially based job where you're interacting a lot with people or an isolated job where it's just you on your own and only occasionally interacting with others, which would you choose? If you could choose between a job that involves a lot of computer work, spreadsheets, that kind of stuff, or a job that involved a lot of physical manipulation of things in the physical space, what would you choose? If you could choose between being very visible and being very forward facing or being back office where you're tackling things but nobody knows who's doing the work, which would you choose? if everything went haywire one day at your job and you went in and your boss said, "Oh, I need to redeploy you. Something's gone wrong." You're going to be answering phones. You have a choice. You're going to be answering phones or you're going to be answering emails. Which would you choose? Okay. So, this is by no means comprehensive. By no means. But what it's doing is it's giving you a little framework that you can play around with. You might want to do this again, right? And you might want to make new sections of different things, or you might want to take clothes and look at clothes in a broken down capacity. So you might go more in depth and say, okay, let's look more at my pajamas, right? And let's just look at pajamas. Do a whole page on pajamas if you want it. I mean, it's possible, because you can get into the type of fabric even that you want to use, right? You can get into all sorts of specifics. What kind of buttons you like, right? What sort of color flannel you want, right? Do you want flannel dresses, or do you want shorts, flannel shorts, or do you want long, flowy flannel pants, right? So this stuff is it's infinite where you can go with this. But the idea is when you start asking yourself these questions, you start becoming aware of your preferences. And once you start to become aware of your preferences, you can start to own your preferences. And you can stop feeling bad about your preferences. Right? The world we live in right now, we're sitting here and we're saying, I'm a lemon, but I really wish I was a grapefruit. This lemon does not think, sheesh, I wish I was a grapefruit, right? And this grapefruit does not think, I wish I was a lemon. This lemon says, I'm going to be the best damn lemon I can be. And look, I'm going to grow to be bigger than your hand, right? And look, I'm going to fight against all these little pests that have sort of tried to live on him. Look, I'm going to fight against these pests, right? I'm going to have all this beautiful lemon oil that not only protects me from the environment, but my goodness, you can use me to clean things, right? I am going to be as useful in every way I can be. I am really, really going to be a good lemon. And think how frustrating it would be for us if this lemon was having an identity crisis and this lemon was saying, oh my God, wait a minute. Maybe I should be a grapefruit. No, maybe I should be a nice crunchy apple, right? Oh, no, I'll be an orange. No, oh, you know what? I think clementines, people really seem to like clementines, Maybe I should try to be a clementine. I mean, think how unpleasant it would be to have a world where this lemon wasn't thoroughly anchored in its essence, right? Every time you bit into a new lemon, you wouldn't know what you were getting because every lemon could be having an identity crisis. And, you might cut into this and you might find something completely different on the inside. And how disappointing would that be? And so when we start to know what our authenticity is, when we start to know what's authentic to us, then we can also start to present that to the outside world. We can look like a lemon, right? We can act like a lemon so that when people meet us, they know what they're getting, so that we can attract the right people into our lives. If you, like me, if you like flannel and you like to curl up at home and watch movies, and you don't enjoy gossip, and you would prefer coffee dates to nightclubs. Like, don't waste your time trying to make friends who like all the opposite things that you like just because you think you should like them. Just because you think you're trying to fit in with those around you. No, don't waste your time. Put your energy into this. Being the best lemon you can be. And owning it. And doing it unapologetically. I mean, this guy is not trying to shy away and say, my goodness, getting a bit too big, The orange tree next to me might start feeling inferior. I really should, grow smaller, or I should be less lemony. Oh my gosh, the aroma coming off of this thing. Or I shouldn't smell so nice. I mean, we do that all the time. We do it all the time. And think what a disservice we're doing not only to ourselves, but to those who love us, to the world around us, right? Gosh. Be this lemon. Know who you are and do it unapologetically. And yes, there are going to be people who don't like you. And that's okay. Because the only person's opinion that actually matters is your own. You will make decisions that they don't understand. You will do things that don't make sense to them. But if you're living your life for them, you're going to be very disappointed down the line. Sheesh. Be the lemon. Be the lemon. Now, for those who have more time or want to do more reflection on this, you can turn your page over and you can write a little something. And it's just like this. My name is and I like, and then fill it in. I don't like, and fill it in. I'm inspired by. I'm curious about. And just keep going with any sentence starters that feel good. Just allow them to arrive. Allow the writing to carry you forward. And at the end, read it out to yourself and see how authentic it feels. Does it feel like you? And if it doesn't, you make some changes until it does. Now, so that we have a little time container for those who are interested in doing this. I'm going to pause the camera. Will I? No, let's do it together. So for those who have the time or who want to come back, let's do it together, because I find if you're doing it on your own, it's just so easy. I mean, as it is, I know I should probably go and start to make breakfast. But I'm going to pause because my tea is now cold. I'm going to pause and I'm going to come back with a warm tea, okay? You should do the same. Okay, I'm back. Let's do a time container around this so that we actually do it and we don't get trapped in the to-do list of everything else that's going on in our lives. And you don't have to go back and look at your image that you just created. You're now going to have a deeper sense of who you are, and other stuff's going to emerge as you start to write. I'm not going to read out what I'm writing, and I don't really want you to look at it. I just want you to know that you're not alone, and we're going to do this together, okay? All right, let's go. don't want to interrupt, but I'm just feeling that I want to end this by saying something along the lines of, for me, a perfect day looks like, and that might be a nice way to close this off. You might decide that you want to write more than one page. We're not trying to change the world with this activity. What we're doing is we're just trying to get a little bit closer to, our lemoniness. Okay. I think the most interesting thing about all of this is actually the very end, where you talk about, if you're not done, just pause me and then come back, where we talk about what the perfect day looks like. And for me, I said, for me, a perfect day would be wake, tea and coffee in bed, avo and toast in bed with fresh OJ, paint, garden, read, hot tub, movie, book and tea in bed. Yeah, warm day, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot more I could say, but we're getting to the point where we're saying, oh, okay, look, this is what I like. This is what makes life good for me. And it's okay. It's okay that I want flannel. I mean, look, I'm in it right now, right? I'm in flannel and I'm in fleece. Right? That's okay. I'm not trying to live up to some commercial's definition of who I should be. Okay, my dear lemons. I hope that was a useful activity. I've enjoyed spending my time doing that. And may we all embrace our unique lemoniness and try to be the best damn lemons we can be. Even if the orange tree beside us doesn't like us so much because we're blocking its sunlight. Okay. Much love. It's time for me to now go and make some brekkies because before too long, probably little kitties will be waking up and looking for some food. And it's a Monday. Dear me, dear me. Oh, I should add that I hate Mondays to my list. I really don't enjoy Mondays. Mondays are packed with scheduled items and I get no time for myself. So this was my time for myself today, and I've enjoyed spending it with you. Okay. Much love, guys. Ciao.